Hey, Curvies, Grand Rising. Oh my gosh. Come on in here. Thanks for coming to Larger Curves today. Come on in here. Make sure you smash that like button, smash the subscribe button. On your way in, if you haven't already, go ahead and ring the bell. You can get notified when we upload videos and whatnots of who's nots. I think I want this down like that. There. It's pulling on my hair. I think I have sensory sensitivity or something like that. My son thinks I'm my son thinks I stim a lot. Anyway, you guys, thanks for coming to Larger Curves. Smash the buttons on your way in. Share the video. Thanks for being here on Thursday, October 17th, 2024. We got 2 months left in 2024, you guys. 2 months left and 18 days until the election. Yes, 18 days until the election. It's getting close, you guys. And leave it to Kamala Harris. She is totally on brand for her flip-flopping self. She started off with not having nothing specifically for Black people. I'm not doing nothing specifically for Black people. I played the entire clip before for context, through what she said about not doing nothing for Black people and what she said after. And the bottom line is she's not doing nothing specifically for Black people. But the Asians got an anti-Asian hate crime bill. But allegedly she didn't have nothing to do with that, but her signature's on it. Go check it out. Go to the places where you can see bills. Her signature's on that shit, you guys. She was very proud when she was reading that. Remember? Within the first 100 days of office. Yep. And I, as an African-American, melanated, FBA heritage, I was very interested to see what the next leader of the free world was going to be doing for us, because we've been waiting a long time, you guys. We've been waiting a long time. We got Biden in, and he thanked us. He said, "Oh, I want to thank the Blacks for coming out in record numbers and getting me voted for, because I told them they wasn't Black if they didn't vote for me, and they listened. And now I'm here, and I want to thank the Blacks." And then when our leaders went to him, to Joe Biden, like everybody else who had promised their allegiance, and then they go for their sit down to be like, "Okay, now what do we get for our vote? I got all of them to vote for you, Joe. Now what do we get?" And remember, he told our leaders to wait. Run along now, wait. And never got back to them that we heard of. It's kind of like a housewife edit where they might have sat down at a 2-hour dinner and talked about that shit, but we don't know. You know, I can bring it all back to housewives. Allie from Miami is in the house. Thanks for coming through. I hope you are excellente. So, yeah, I woke up on the other day and I heard that all of a sudden Kamala has, yeah, we received a whole thank you. You are such good Negroes. You are all going to get in the magical book of Negroes for voting me in. Now go wait. That's what he did. Yes, yes. And they didn't get the lynching thing through. They can sign executive orders and get shit done on a federal level like lickety split. They can make phone calls and end genocides lickety split. The precedent is set. We already know how this stuff works. We saw a lot of different presidents who didn't have the House and the Senate sign some stuff and get some shit done, and some people did it. So I'm not sure why all of a sudden every single time it comes to anything with the upliftment of African Americans in this country, foundational African Americans, then there has to be a meeting, there has to be a committee. We have to hurry up and wait for another, 450 years? We have 450 years of slavery. We had Jim Crow through the 70s. It's only 2024. That means Jim Crow only been gone 50 years, half a century, y'all. And they're redoing laws to make it go back to the way it was in Jim Crow. In our face. So I was very interested to see what this woman would have to say when she flip-flopped again. But her values are the same. Oh, my values are the same. Now look, if my son came to me and I was like, "Oh, don't do this," and he said, "Okay, mommy, I won't do that," and then he went ahead and did it, but he said his values had stayed the same, he would need his chakras realigned. I would have to get at him and let him know that the what a value means is that the core of it doesn't change. So that means you can't be for something today and against it tomorrow and have the value, the core value remain the same. That's lunacy. That's like that that means your values are not the same. That means there is a shift in what you believe. There's a shift in your morals that made you somehow decide that what you were for yesterday, you are against today, or vice versa. At least in my little tiny human mind, that's the way it's working. But in the constitutional republic of America, what's happening is that you can say one thing yesterday and then pretend like you didn't say it. And now you got 18 days left and you need our black asses too. So now you got a black agenda. So we're going to look at it. I didn't listen to the whole thing. She went on, she did a town hall with Charlamagne the God that we'll listen to a little bit as much as we can, because interesting thing is that even though she's running for president, they don't want you to hear her speeches. They don't want you to hear her shit. I mean, why can't this be freely shared? Why is it under lock and key of copyright? Why doesn't she really want her message out? Because it's a stinky message, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. But every time I play something from Charlamagne the God, the not God, Charlamagne the seat sniffer is what I'm calling him. And then I'm like, this woman is running around interviewing multiple times with an admitted graper. Charlamagne the God wrote in his autobiography that he essayed his now wife and made a joke about it so she couldn't testify against him because he's pretty sure that he raped her. That's nothing to joke about. That's out of his own mouth. Not to mention that he has a real bona fide victim who was underage when she believes that she was given some type of drug when him and his friends and his cousins ran a train on her and she was underage. And Kamala Harris, the who would be next president of the United States, is running to talk to him, running to talk to that assayer, running to talk to that admitted assayer, talking about I paid my debt to society. That's disgusting, ladies. But she's going to let you have autonomy over your bodies when she gets to be president, even though she's been in on every decision made as vice president. She's going to change it all when she gets to the other office. I don't get it. But we're going to take a chance and get some information from the town hall. So that's going to be the first thing I share. Then she did an interview with the Shade Room to further her black agenda, because you know the Shade Room's black. Yeah. And then she went over to Fox News and became unhinged, is what the people are calling it. She like had a meltdown on Fox News. Okay. And then I might, if I have time, I might bring it all back to how she's basically projecting and doing the classic housewife thing of projecting and saying that another housewife is doing exactly what you're doing. Well, she's saying that Trump is doing stuff that she's doing. Oh, he's fear mongering. Oh, he's trying to scare people. Every time she opens her mouth, the only thing for sure is that she pledges allegiance to Israel and that, ooh, the boogeyman Trump is going to get us. If he's elected again, the boogeyman Trump is going to get us. Now, this is not a pro 45 channel. Know that. Know that me being not for Kamala does not mean that I am for 45. I have my own ideals about who I'll be voting for. For me, the third time's a charm. The third party's a charm this time for me. I will not be within the duopoly. Both of these warmongers, these horror warmongers, they're not getting my vote. This is my personal 666 moment. I will not be taking the mark of the beast upon my head or my hand. Nope. I do not agree with genocide. That man burning to death attached to the IV the other night. If y'all are with it, then be with it. But I am not with that shit. There will be no 666s on me. I'm already black. That's basically carbon is 666. Let them tell it that's the mark of the beast, allegedly. I don't know. There's a lot of shit happening on level 8. Y'all know I love a good conspiracy theory. Anyway, let's get to it. Thanks for being here. We got Just Growing in Detroit. So you're from Detroit. What did you think about her black plan? We're gonna get into it. This Just Growing in Detroit says 100. Yep. He was a Spanish fly freak knockoff diddler. Yup. Before we knew the diddler was diddling. He I don't know if there was a book, a manual or something on how to get famous fast. You need to essay a couple people, dope up a couple other people. Yep, I don't know. Kamala Harris was flip-flopping more than Flipper in SeaWorld. That's what I'm saying. She flip-flops more than a stack of pancakes at camp on Saturday morning. She be flip-flopping. What you say today, you won't say tomorrow. I don't like leaders like that. And not to mention, she's either flip-flopping or not answering your question, evading the question. I don't know why every answer needs to start with, well, I grew up middle class, bitch. Why you bragging? There are a lot of people that did not grow up middle class. And then I was thinking, she's very divisive. First, she comes out and she tells us that she's the first this and the first that. So that separates her from other people. She's the first Indian. She's the first black. So that's identity politics. That means there's a separation. You just need to be an American running for Americans. And then she's going to work really hard to help the middle class. There are 335 million people in the United States of America. And she's always only talking to about 100 million of y'all. Always only talking to about 100 million of y'all. She'll give out 1 million forgivable loans. There's 335 million people in the United States of America. And she's willing to give out 1 million loans to be forgiven for $20,000 each. Somebody had a point. Isn't that a grant? Isn't that called a grant? When the government gives you some money, you don't have to pay back. Isn't that a grant? Or is she trying to PPP loan fraud the black people again? You know, a lot of black people got caught up in the PPP thing. And they was getting Ferraris instead of paying employees to stay home and stuff like that. That was a loan, and they didn't pay it back. And then if they didn't pay it back, then there was a lot of trouble if they didn't do it. Got all the people caught up. Now a million of you are gonna get $20,000 forgiven, and then if you had a baby, then you're gonna get $6,000, and then if you're a first-time home buyer, then you're gonna get $25,000, and then if you happen to try to start a business, you're gonna get $20,000 up to $50,000. See how it's very that's not all of us. There's 335 million of us. And she only has a little something for just little groups of people. What about the collective? But then she has the nerve to say, well, I'll be a president for everybody. But you've only addressed the issues of certain people groups, none of which you claim to be and are trying to force us to believe, because I'm with Candace Owens on this shit. I need your daddy to come up on the stage at this point for me to believe that you're black, for how long it took your black ass to get a plan for Black America. And I understand that her word salad, flip-flopping, values stay the same ass can just tell us she has a plan and then not do it like they're good for doing. But for her to come running back to us with 18 days left, I feel like that's too close to the wire, ma'am. You should have had us in your good graces from the moment of your installation. I said it. She was installed. She was not on the primary ticket as a nominee, and no way ever in the United States history of presidencies has somebody been allowed to take the vote that was cast for them and hand it to the person behind them and be like, oh, here, take these, I'm out. Without us getting to recast a vote. And y'all are just accepting it. Oh my God. Oh my God. Come on. Well, she was going to be the vice president anyway. And whenever you vote for the president, you're in essence voting for the vice president. So it's okay that he did that. No, it's fucking not. That's not democracy, bitches. That is the opposite of democracy. That is the opposite of democracy. When you don't vote for somebody and another authority installed the other person, isn't that some kind of totalitarian fascist shit happening? We were supposed to get to cast a vote that counted. And then if that didn't work out, we were supposed to get at the DNC convention, the Do Not Care convention. We were supposed to have an open convention at the least after an installation for us, the American citizens of America, to come up and be like, okay, well, maybe we can have her. Maybe it could have been Marianne. Maybe it could have been Robert. But they usurp that whole process and then tell you that it's democracy and that 45 is the threat. You guys, are you buying this shit? Really? They literally just pulled a fast one. Thank you, Celine. I appreciate you. Both of them flip-flopping. Yeah, no 45 flip-flops. And she flip-flops. You know who hasn't flip-flopped is Jill Stein. You know who, well, Cornell did a little flip-flopping because he started off green this election cycle and then left the Green Party and went independent. But he has the same core values because his platform was the same in both places. Yeah, they gave her a spot. They installed her. Installation. That's usually what happens in art when there's a number of pieces. It's called an art installation because you place it where you want it to be. Democracy, we thought, it took me to be in my 50s to find out that we're not in a democracy at all. There's no place that is mentioned in the Constitution or the Bill of Rights, you guys. It's just a word that came up later in order to pacify the people of what we go around doing around the world when we're trying to make democracy. Oh, that needs to be democracy over in Sudan. Oh, there needs to be democracy in Haiti. Oh, there needs to be democracy where Escobar was. Oh, there needs to be... Well, all I know is that every time the United States says needs to be democracy someplace else in the world, it's so that they can install a person that they can control and work with in that region. And it usually then has to do with natural resources and control of that region so that they can position themselves in a threatening position within the country borderlines of another foreign government's lines, and then say that they're there for protection of democracy. But it's really, there was some oil, there's some titanium, there's some lithium, there's some cobalt. I mean, pick a fucking mineral, and that's usually what is happening. Usually. But it's democracy. You know what we're really in, y'all? It's called a constitutional republic. A constitutional republic is the only way that Kamala Harris could be installed like that. A constitutional republic, not a democracy at all. That means for the USA to go around touting democracy and that we are democracy's like poster child when we're a constitutional republic is all just blowing smoke. All just to keep us confused. Oh, we think we're in a democracy. Our votes count. Nope, the Electoral College made sure that your vote doesn't individually count. That's why there are whole states that they know it's going to be red or blue because the Electoral College in that place is going to go red or blue based off of the research. Ranked choice voting means that my vote counts individually, your vote counts individually. There's no more red state, blue state. There's people in the state who voted, and that's what we need. Do you really think whoever the president will get the reparations? You know what? Kamala Harris had a very good point when she was talking to Charlamagen the God, based just about when you want to get something done, is there really a point to ask for it when it probably won't even get through? And she's like, but we have to start. But when Jill Stein wants to start a conversation as president of the United States about reparation cash payments with $12 trillion earmarked for foundational Black Americans in this country whose families were harmed by the irreparable damage of slavery, Jim Crow, and redlining and everything else that we've been through. Okay, have a great day, Zelene. Everything else we've been through. And they don't even want to talk about it. But it takes having somebody talk about it for it to get talked about the next time and the next time and the next time and the next time. And then you eventually come up with a law or a bill or executive order or sign. But never talking about it at all, then we're not going to get anything. So I really do believe that if certain people are president, we will get the reparations. If Kamala's president, then Israel will continue to get my reparations. If 45 is president, then Israel and Ukraine will continue to get my reparations. Yep. I believe even if Chase Oliver, the Libertarian Party, he's on all the ballots. He's even pledged allegiance to Israel and said they had a right to defend themselves again. I was like, even you? So he would continue to send my reparations to Israel and Ukraine. But Jill Stein and Cornel West, they will not be sending our reparations to Israel or Ukraine. They do not believe in the wars that are going on. And they especially don't believe in them being funded with taxpaying dollars that should be used on Americans. So I'll be taking my chances. I'll be taking my chances with somebody who's at least talking my language, not flip-flopping all the time, and not freaking being crazy. So I've been talking a long time. Let me start sharing these videos. I was, like I said, going to start with Charlamagen the God. I have it ready to go. Tell me if you guys can hear this. I don't know if, let's see, can you just hear it? Because if I show it, that could be the problem. Let's see.
Planet Charlamagen the God here with Madam Vice President Kamala Harris. How are you?
Very well, Charlamagen. How you doing?
Listen, we got 20 days and 60 minutes.
Copyright disclaimer and a copyright use under 107. This is for commenting research on who to vote for president, commenting on what we think about her Black plan, and anything else. Oh, and teaching about the constitutional republic that we live in and not the democracy. Let's continue. We're going to listen to this because I don't know if it's the visual and the audio, but I mean, it was an audio show. I'll go ahead and share it. F it. Unfortunately, the clips that I wanted to see over on CNN, they had it set up really nice, but even theirs don't have it to share anymore. So I'm going to be speeding up the playback. Let's put closed captions on. And let's listen to some of what she says is the Black plan.
We just need to get to it.
I'm with you. Oh, it was 21 days.
How are you? Because you did just walk in. You was kind of late. So.
Well, I tried to be on time.
Well,
apparently, I'm 40 seconds late. You're right.
Well, you are Black. So. Okay.
So immediately he's trying to tell us who Black is and that she's Black, and then doing a stereotypical joke because she's late. And colored people time usually implies that you're late. And I'm not sure how that shit happened because the slaves was up first on the plantation picking your motherfucking cotton, if they got any sleep at all. So this misnomer that Black people are late to every fucking thing is just more white supremacy talk, because we were up first. We built the country first, okay, while they were sitting on fucking porches whipping our ass, okay? Let's continue with the bullshit.
Now, one thing they've been saying, a lot of your press hits get criticized, folks say you come off as very scripted. They say you like to stick to your talking points. And some media says you have...
That would be called discipline.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we're going.
No, I was just some people say you have an inability to fearlessly say who you are and what you believe. I know that's not true. But what do you say to that criticism? And is it fair for SNL to make fun of it?
Hasn't my Rudolph been wonderful?
Yes.
I took two things that I love.
I'm not
dancing
sure.
And dogs, and I made them into a successful business. Hi, I'm Ronnie. I'm the owner of Keta.
Hasn't Maya Rudolph been wonderful?
Yes.
I think I have nothing but admiration for the comedy, and I think it's important to be able to laugh at yourself and each other
But what do you say to people
in the spirit of obviously comedy and
Yes.
not belittling people as my opponent would do.
But what do you say to people who say you stay on the talking points?
I would say you're welcome.
And then how she becoming getting smart with Black people's audience all the time, like stereotypical, late, stereotypical, just like we like music, we like this, just all the stereotypes. And then she gets with Black audiences. Did you notice that? I would tell them, you're welcome. People want to know why you repeat yourself, why you always say you grew up in the middle class before everything. I would say you're welcome. But if I slow it down, then you'll hear it.
Hey, listen, here's the thing. I love having conversations, which is why I'm so happy to be with you this afternoon. And the reality is that there are certain things that must be repeated to ensure that
So happy to be with a seat sniffing, admitted SA graper. He wrote it in his book.
I have everyone know what I stand for and the issues that I think are at stake in this election.
Mm-hmm.
And so it requires repetition. You know, some people say that until someone has heard the same thing at least 3 times, it just doesn't stay with you. So repetition is important. And for that reason, yes, at my rallies, I say the same thing when I go to Detroit as I do in Philly, as I do wherever I am, to make sure that people hear and receive what I think are some of the most critical issues that are at stake in this election.
There has to be a high level of anxiety, too, when you have these conversations, though, because you are running for president.
I mean, you know what, there's certainly
And then these leading questions. If we were in a court of law, I would have been like, leading the witness, Your Honor.
I feel the weight of the moment and my role. I feel an extraordinary weight of responsibility right now to do everything I can. I'm telling you, Charlamagen, when I go to bed at night, I almost every night, in addition to my prayers, will ask, have I done everything I could do today? If this is a margin of error race, it's tight. I'm going to win. But it's tight. And, you know, what is at stake is truly profound and historic, many would say. And it's about, you know, some people would say this lofty notion of supporting and preserving our democracy. Mm-hmm. But it is about real issues that affect people every day, like whether we're going to maintain a $35 cap on insulin for our seniors, whether we're going to continue.
Excuse me. But luckily, thank God, a lot of people in my family are healthy and nobody's on insulin. I'm not sure. Can you guys put it in the chat? Does that directly speak to you and your issues? $35 a month insulin. I mean, I think it's great. And wasn't Obama working on getting the prices of insulin capped also? Like, how long are we going to work on things? You see how they just keep on working on it. But when they want to send money to Israel, they don't have no meetings, no nothing. They just send the money. Yup. I just think it's really interesting, you guys. Really interesting. Let's keep listening.
Continue to allow Medicare to negotiate drug prices to bring them down. Whether we are going to have, as my opponent would have, a formalized stop and frisk policy, for which he has said if a police department does not do it, they should be defunded, or not. There is so.
She actually was saying that police should be defunded last time she was running after George Floyd, because that's what everybody needed to say to get the Black people vote. But then, of course, she went back on that. Let's keep listening.
How much at stake? Whether America is going to stand on its principles around the importance of sovereignty and territorial integrity and stand with our.
Whether America is going to stand on its principles of when there's a primary election, I should have been on the ballot. Oh, no, not that part. No, the sovereignty of Israel. That's what she's sure about.
Allies around the world, or whether we're going to admire dictators and send during the height of COVID in the pandemic, COVID tests that nobody could get.
I'll say it. It feels very, it feels very dictatorish to have you installed, Kamala. It feels very dictatorish to have never had your name on any ballot except for now the presidential ballot. It feels very dictatorish to have you force-fed down our throats as the presumptive nominee for the presidency as the Democrat. Yep, it's feeling kind of dictatorish.
To the president of Russia for his personal use when Black people were dying every day by the hundreds during that time.
Yeah, I feel like that one has gone over people's heads. The fact that he was sending COVID tests to Putin.
I mean, you know, your listeners, the people we know, the number of people who lost their grandparents and parents Remember what that was like during the height of COVID? And a lot of it, people were scrambling for the resources and needed tests. And Donald Trump, during that time, secretly sent COVID tests to the president of Russia, who, by the way, do not forget, in the 2016 election, because I was a member of the Senate Intelligence Committee when we investigated it, targeted black voters in 2016 with mis and disinformation to discourage black people from voting in that election. And this is just another of the very many examples of who Donald Trump really is and the danger he presents to real people.
Sending COVID test to
I keep offering that Kamala Harris needs to take notes from Nene Leakes. And when you get airtime, don't talk about no other housewives. When somebody brings it up, only talk about your stuff, what you have going on. This is your time to shine. And why every other word is either she grew up in the middle class or what Trump is going to do or has done. But she's been involved in every major decision in the last 4 years. A lot of blame, lack of accountability. I'm feeling like his studio is filling up with gas. I hope nobody lights a match.
So that doesn't sound very America first at all. But it's not just you versus Trump, it's you versus misinformation.
Yes, that's true.
Right? And one of the biggest pieces of misinformation, one of the biggest allegations against you is that you targeted and locked up thousands of black men in San Francisco for weed. Some say you did it.
Okay, so then them being very specific in what he's saying. He said locking up thousands of black men in San Francisco for weed. Now, I keep telling you guys, I'm from the Bay Area, born and raised in Oakland, California. And I was here in the 2000s, 2001, 2003, 2004, 2005, 6, 7. I got married to my husband in San Francisco on the beach on San Francisco in 2007. So I'm very familiar with the inners of my community, home of the Black Panthers. Thank you very much. And we know firsthand as a community what was really happening during the Kamala years as DA and then as AG. We know very well what she was doing. And she did lock up, in fact, thousands of black and brown people. But it wasn't all for weed. Some of it, they were framing the black man for murder. What's the man's name? True Love. Jamal True Love, I keep telling you guys, is the one that got $13.1 million because Kamala Harris allowed, as the top cop, she allowed the police officers to suppress, plant, and otherwise disturb evidence that would have proven an innocent man's innocence. And he spent 6.5 years of his life in jail while he was innocent. And Kamala used it as a political, to gain political favor, and then ultimately ended up sued and won for $13.1 million, you guys. And that was not for weed. She actually said that person unalived their best friend. So I just want you to pay attention to the trickiness of their words. They're saying, oh, it's for weed. No, it wasn't for weed. So this is going to be a true statement. No, that's a lie. I didn't lock up all those people for weed. She's saying it's true. But the other part is that, yes, she did, in fact, lock up thousands of black and brown people for seemingly nothing and hold them there for longer. So don't be fooled by this little play on words that it's around weed, which she loves talking to Charlamagen the God about, by the way. She loves talking to Charlamagen, the seat sniffer, about weed.
Your career, some say you did it out of pure hate for black men. Please tell us the facts. What's the facts of that situation?
It's just simply not true. And what public defenders who are around those days will tell you, I was the most progressive prosecutor in California on marijuana cases and would not send people to jail for simple possession of weed. And as vice president, have been a champion for bringing marijuana down on the schedule. So instead of it being ranked up there with heroin, we bring it down. And my pledge is, as president, I will work on decriminalizing it because I know exactly how those laws have been used to disproportionately impact certain populations and specifically black men.
Before we get into the talkback feature and take some questions from the audience, I do want to talk to you about the legalization of weed, because you're saying you want to legalize it now. What steps did the Biden administration take to get closer to that reality?
So we had to work with the DEA, and there's a certain level of bureaucracy that exists in the federal government that slows things down, but essentially to bring down how weed is classified, how marijuana is classified, to make it classified as a lesser harm. And so that took some time. There's a whole process around that, but that's.
So she just said that as president, she was going to be working to get it declassified. He says, what has the Biden administration done in that regard? And she says, they've been working to get it declassified. So like I keep saying, if you guys are doing great right now under the Biden administration, I say congratulations. And if you guys want a continuation of Sleepy Joe's policy, then that's what you'll be getting with Kamala Harris, because all she's doing is continuing the work that they've already been doing while she's been sitting in the other office, you guys.
The work that we have done, in addition to work that we have done writ large on criminal justice reform.
Okay, let's take some calls. When I call, let's go to the talkback feature.
My question for Kamala is, why are we, and I say we because my tax dollars is sending the money, why are we sending money to other countries when we desperately need in our own country for homeless, housing, resources, for whatever? That is my determining factor if I vote for Kamala or not.
That's one of the reasons the America First.
So that's my thing. Why are you sending my reparations to every place but America? Why do I have to pass Americans under freeways with families under freeways in tents like it's fucking Gaza? While IsFake they just got another $13 billion this week. But Americans are under freeways on your administration watch. Americans can't get the health care they need on your administration watch. Did you know that if you go to Israel, you get free college, free health care, free this, free that? You know who's paying for that? Our tax dollars, you guys. They don't even really have a fucking economy in Israel like that. Everything is off of our tax-paying dollars' backs. We're basically slaves for Israel. That's what the fuck is going on. Americans are slaves for Israel. Watch how fast she pledges allegiance to Israel right here.
Rhetoric resonates because nobody in America would complain about where money was going if American citizens' everyday needs were being met. So what do you say to that?
So she's about to say something stupid. Let's see if anything that she prefaces that's going to ultimately be about Israel, she doesn't start with, I grew up middle class. She kind of gets right to it. But later, we'll see her pattern of establishing what she did first. That's very narcissistic too. Everything's about her. Everything's about her.
We can do it all, and we do. So, first of all, I maintain very strongly, America should never pull ourselves away from our responsibility as a world leader. And that is in the best interest of our national security and each one of us as Americans and our standing in the world. That being said, we also have an obligation to American citizens, obviously, and people who are here to meet their everyday needs and challenges, which is why, for example, we have done the work in the last 4 years of bringing down the cost of prescription medication, whether it be $35 a month for seniors for insulin or $2,000.
That's not the fucking question. She doesn't answer any questions. Everybody get your tongs out for the salad she's serving. Everybody got your salad tongs ready? Listen to this shit.
$1,000 a year cap on prescription medication. What we have done that has been about putting $17 billion in our HBCUs. I am proud to be the first HBCU vice president of the United States. I intend to be the first HBCU president of the United States. Those resources are about sending them to centers of academic excellence that I know them to be. The work that I continue to do is about increasing access to capital for our small businesses. It is about increasing the opportunity for home ownership, knowing that Black people are 40% less likely to be home.
That's not saying anything about homeless people under the freeways.
Homeowners in America, we have a history of legal and procedural obstacles to that home ownership, starting with the fact nobody got 40 acres and a mule to redline it.
Actually, we did get 40 acres and a mule. About 1,000 deeds were given out to formerly enslaved Americans, and they had set up shop, and they even had a mule, about 1,000 of them, and it was up to 40 acres. Of course, there's always a caveat, right? And so they did, in fact, start giving that out. And then it was the Democrats who came along and took it back, I believe. Do your research.
To issues that this Detroit area and people around the country know to be real. So part of my plan is that we're going to give people a $25,000 down payment assistance to get their foot in the door to buy a home for first-time home.
So again, here she is. There's 335 million Americans. I'll say out of the suffering, the people who like look at the prices twice, I think there's like 90% of Americans might be checking the price tag right now when you have to consider like what the gas is, the milk is, the winter's about to come. It's going to be a cold one, and all of that. I'd say a large swath of America is checking prices right now. And she's talking about, and did you see the home prices? I live in California. They're selling homes constructed in 1930s with 1,200 square feet, 1,600 square feet for 1 point something million dollars on 8,000 square feet of land. That's nothing, you guys, for 1 point something million dollars. How much of a difference is $25,000 going to make to get a house in California, even if you're a first-time buyer? $25,000 is not the required down payment anymore. But that was like a long time ago, Kamala, that $25,000 could have helped in a down payment. $25,000 can help with some closing costs, some points on the closing costs, but that does not help on a down payment, darling. You know that. But now, actually, she wouldn't know that because when her mom worked hard and saved up to buy their house in Canada, because that's where she went to high school, and she said when she was in high school, her mom was finally had worked hard and finally long enough to finally buy a house. That house was in Canada. You guys, that house was not in America. That first house was in Canada. Go to Candace Owens episode 70 through 80. She's been doing a full deep dive into all of that stuff. Candace Owens. Who some can feel she's like a clock. At least she's right twice a day. Okay. So she was able to find out that Kamala Harris' house that she's always bragging about that her mother bought from working hard, that was in Canada. I don't know what the prices are like in Canada, but in America, the prices have been high.
Buyers. The work that I'm going to do to increase housing supply in America, knowing that that's one of the reasons that rents and housing.
So does that mean that she partnered with BlackRock? Because BlackRock is the corporate freaking landlord of the world in America so far. And so who's she going to work with to make sure that there are more houses built? But I see a lot of empty houses. I mean, you don't have to literally build more houses to address the homeless problem. There are enough structures currently throughout America that could house the people that are under freeways right now in tents like they're in freaking Gaza.
Prices are jacked up. And to work with the private sector, cut through the red tape and work.
You mean the prices that got jacked up while you've been sitting as the vice president in on all the major decisions? Because obviously Joe didn't sleep the whole time. I don't know, because you've been making all the decisions and you wouldn't do not a thing different. You wouldn't have done a thing different than Joe. And we're all looking at the prices, quivering when we have to open our wallets, messing with your administration. But you wouldn't change a thing. But you're going to work with the private sector to cut through red tape to finally get them to lower prices for us after we've been suffering for 4 years. Really, bitch?
To build more housing, 3 million before the end of my first term. And I give these examples, and there are many more which I will offer.
So that means, look at that very specific number. She was going to do something about 3 million something with corporate people and make sure that there's more housing. So does that mean that whoever gave money to her campaign from the housing industry already knows that they're going to be awarded a 3 million structure contract as she gets in? Because that's one number she gave us. That's very specific. She knows that very specific. She hasn't known a lot. It took her 60 days to get a platform together and get some policies, which she calls issues, by the way. She wants to enter into a relationship with us with issues. Jill Stein wants to enter into a relationship with us with a platform. Now, just as a relationship girl, I'm an LTR. I love long-term relationships. I'm monogamous. I love it. That way you keep all the diseases at bay and you keep your sanity intact most of the time. But I'm feeling like she's kind of like playing a switcheroo again. Huh.
For example, the work that I will do to extend the child tax credit to $6,000 for young.
Again, she's talking to women of childbearing age who have one child. That's a very specific swath of the American public. There's 335 million of us. But for the people who can have a baby, you get $6,000 in tax credit. So after you spend your money, I'll see if I can get you some back. Everything on her plan is on the back end. That means we give it all, and then they give us something on the back end later. Every single thing in her plan is we give it first, and then on the back end, you get it in a tax credit, you get it in a tax credit, you get it in a tax credit. It's not talking about money to this hand. It's not talking about money to my hand. It's talking about imaginary money, tax credit money. But who's getting money in their hand is fake. Who's getting money in their hand? You crot. So who's American? Maybe they're the Americans. Maybe, like I said, we're just the slaves for them.
Families during the first year of their child's life.
And is $6,000, does that translate? Let's see how much that is. That doesn't even fucking translate. Ooh, $6,000. While she has on pearls worth freaking $60,000 and a suit that's $5,000, and her blowout was a $1,500 blowout, and she's talking to Americans about a $6,000 tax fucking credit, you guys, that we used to already have, but somebody got rid of. That's basically, so if you do $6,000 and you divide it by 12, she's giving y'all $500 a month tax credit. Ooh, isn't that great? Oh, doesn't that feel good as an American? Oh my God, she loves us so much. Oh my God, you guys are going to thrive so much. $500 extra in a tax credit after you spend it. Oh my God. Imagine all the trips to Disneyland you'll be able to take with that. Now, I'm going to look at real quick. So she's talking about $500 a month. I'm going to go to shopping right now. And did you guys know that, right? My friend is going to have her baby tomorrow. I got to call her today. My cousin's having her baby tomorrow. But my cousin's having a baby. And she was telling me how strollers are up to $1,000 fucking dollars, you guys. When I had my babies in 2013 was the last time I had a baby. And we had a Gray Coast stroller. Remember the Gray Coast strollers? And it came with a car seat and a stroller. And it was wide enough at the bottom that you didn't hit your feet on the thing. It was very nice. It was top of the line when I got it. It was not anywhere in the thousands. I think it was like maybe all of $80, maybe. And it was top of the fucking line. Those shits are up to $1,000. But she wants to give you guys $500 a month, right? So now I'm going to look up diapers. So let's see. So you can get a pack of 168 Huggies Little Smuggler diapers for $45 as a special offer at Target right now. It looks like Pampers, you can get 96 of them as a special offer for $30. If you care about the BPAs and what's actually on your baby, then those are up to $90. Sam's Club diapers are $16 for I don't know how many. Okay, and let's look up how much baby formula is. Baby formula. I don't agree with that, but if you can't breastfeed, damn, baby formula is up to $30, $45. If you get a couple packs, it's $168. Infamil is $51. Wow. Target Infamil, $69. They have something else called Kindamil. That's only $30. If you get organic, it's $140. So she wants to give you $500 tax credit for your baby, for the new worker who's going to be a freaking able to pay taxes and fund whatever wars they want them to fund when they're of working age too. But she wants to give you basically $500 a month, you guys. Ooh. And she leans, oh my God, like it's a lot.
Life, because as you and I both know, our families all have a natural desire to parent their children well, but not always the resources. Mm-hmm. So by expanding the child tax credit to the first year of child's life to $6,000, that gives that young family the ability to buy a car seat or a crib or clothes, the things that are so important during that critical phase of that child's development, so that they can get on the road and actually have a chance at succeeding.
You said we can do it all, but can we? But, Tupac famously said, we got money for war, but can't feed the poor, right? And I saw President Obama say last week that you really shouldn't expect a president to rid the world of all of its problems. And so it's fair to tell people, hey, we can do it all, because that's when people get disappointed when things don't happen.
But I think President Obama is absolutely correct, but it doesn't mean we can't do anything.
That's right.
So when I talk about extending the child tax credit, when I was vice president, I pushed that we would do it during our first year, and we reduced black child poverty in America by 50%. We did that. We can do that.
Did she though? I feel like her numbers are very embellished. I don't think that that's the case. Let's get to the black plan though. Oh, mute that. Come over here to these comments real quick. Oh, look, somebody's hot in here. AAE, Miss Dugan Tao, Steven. Thanks for coming through, you guys. Okay, let's get at these comments. Let's see. Yeah, I was on Justin, Celine, Take Care going. They have a right to defend themselves. Not with our tax money. The disrespect is blatant. And on that tip, why do they get a right to defend themselves, but Breonna Taylor's boyfriend is responsible for her getting shot by the popo for defending himself in his house, which is the same place that Kamala told Oprah Winfrey that if somebody came into her house, she said they was going to get pow-powed, remember? So she has a right to defend herself, and Israel has a right to defend itself. But Breonna Taylor's boyfriend did not have a right to defend himself with that no-knock, bust-in, kick-in-my-door warrant that they did on her house. Let's see.
So again, the work that I have done through my career, and most recently even when I was where our church and my church is about saying true leadership, the measure of that is based on who you lift up. And then he's selling $60 Bibles or tennis shoes.
And you washing collard greens in your bathtub and going to HBCUs, it's all performative.
And trying to play people as though that makes him more understanding of the Black community. Come on.
As though washing collard greens in the bathtub makes that more understanding of the Black community. Come on.
Thank you, Reverend.
Thank you, Reverend.
And God's good.
Every day, all the time.
There you go. I make sure you get that right. Now, have you seen the clip, Madam Vice President, from the grill? It's a clip that's kind of out of context. And
And they're saying it's out of context. You see how he's setting it up? We played that clip in its fucking entirety last week, you guys. We played the clip that he's referencing from the griot. That's the only place you can find it right now because they had the whole freaking thing scrubbed of the time that she said, I'm not doing nothing specifically for Black people. And it was around reparations. The question was from a Black woman, how do you feel about reparations for Black Americans? And she went into this whole long blah, 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 and did-it-a-la-la. And she knows how bad everything has been, but she not doing nothing specifically for Black people. So she did, in fact, say it. It was in the context of reparations was the question. And if she wasn't so word salad, then she would have remembered that. But the setup that Charlamagen the seat sniffer is doing right now, all this soft lolly, isn't that what you lolly the ball with the person when you do it, a soft setup so that they can learn how to play? Because they're mediocre at best. So you don't play hard with that person. You just kind of tossing the ball like you pitch underhanded to them so they can be sure to hit the ball, knock it out of the park. Let's see if she knocks it out of the park or not.
That you won't do anything specifically for Black people. Have you seen that?
I've not seen that.
It's a clip that has you saying.
Let's go find it real quick.
If there is one video that you watched today, I really hope it's this one, especially if you were trying to manifest an entirely new reality. Guaranteed success at an
See how it doesn't take you to the video it said? Maybe it's this one. But you know where I found the whole clip? See how it's not really in here? Okay. That's because they scrubbed it. When she first started running 100, she had 107 days before the election, and she was running for president. We found out she was getting installed. We ran and looked for the clip about not doing anything specifically for Black people, and you could type it in and it would just pop up. But now it's all this other stuff. So how I found it last time was I had to go to images, and in images there's a talk from the griot. See, no, where'd it go? Look at this look on her face. That's crazy. That's so scary. It's literally like there's two people in there. Oh my God. That's so scary. Okay, let me see if I can find it. Let me make this big. So how did I find it? This was just last week. This is what I had to go through. YouTube, AP. No way, it's gone. Because I think I showed my hand last time. I showed how this is how I found it. Let me say the griot. Oh my God, it's scrubbed. Look how limited the things are. They scrubbed the freaking web, you guys. They scrubbed the web. Oh, here it is. Look how I had to come all the way over here. But then over here, it disappeared. No way. Where'd it go? Here it is. So this is from 2020. Look how much you have to go through to get to it, though.
One of the questions that the Black community has for the president, what would
would be your agenda for the Black community?
Right.
We know that
Right.
Black Americans are arrested at higher rates for
That's
marijuana.
right.
We're
Where'd it
denied
go?
mortgages when we loans
exactly
for mortgages. There's a
That's
wealth
right.
disparity. So how do you
That's
help the
right.
Black community from
That's
the White
right.
House?
That's right. Well, the first step is to understand that the needs of Black folks are the needs of everyone, and the needs of everyone are the needs of Black folks.
So everybody was put in slavery for 450 years, that it's the same needs. Everybody was under Jim Crow for another 150 years, and that's why it's the same needs. Everybody gets shot with their hands up when they're interacting with police because that's the same needs. Everybody gets locked up in mass incarceration for no apparent reason because that's the same needs. So we're all exactly the same. But you're Black like us, and you even feel like we're all the same, and we get treated exactly the same, and there's been no disparaging anything so that we all can stand getting exactly the same amount of everything. Really? But you're Black because you put collard greens in your bathtub and went to a HBCU? I need to hear this again, because we're going to go back to the Charlamagen interview and listen to her lie.
Mortgages. There's a wealth disparity. So how do you help the Black community from
That's
the White
right.
House?
That's right. Well, the first step is to understand that the needs of Black folks are the needs of everyone, and the needs of everyone are the needs of Black folks. It is also equally important to understand that this is a country that had over 200 years of slavery, had Jim Crow, had legalized segregation and discrimination, and now de facto segregation and discrimination. And so while our needs are like everyone else's, in terms of we want our babies to be born healthy and live a happy and productive life, we care about issues of climate change, we care about issues of national security. We also know that when you look at disparities around wealth, around home ownership, around education, around who is stopped, arrested, and incarcerated in this country, there are huge disparities based on race, and that has to be dealt with. So part of my proposal, in terms of the agenda, specifically for Black folks, is about what we need to do, for example, around maternal mortality. I have actually sponsored a bill and intend, as President of the United States, to make sure it is passed around recognizing that Black women are 4 times more likely to die in childbirth. And when you study these, you know that it is not about the education level of somebody. It is not about their socioeconomic level. It is literally about their race.
I feel better.
Remember what happened to Serena. It is literally about racial bias in the medical health professions that cause people to not take Black women seriously when they walk into the door of that hospital or that emergency room in terms of how they talk about what they need. The agenda includes HBCUs, for example. I am a proud graduate of Howard University. I know that our HBCUs have raised and helped raise generations of leaders in this country, and do it in a very special way that is about nurturing and about creating high standards and challenging young people to be their best, not giving them any excuse, but giving them all kinds of support. So we need to do more. Yeah, I'm right now working on, and actually got it out of the Senate, and the House passed it around giving more money to HBCUs around their historic landmarks. But there's more to be done around creating incentives for more young people to go into the STEM professions through HBCUs. There is what we need to do around the point that you're raising about the economic disparities. I have a proposal that will be my first order of business when elected president, that is about lifting up middle-class working families. And what I'm proposing specifically is that families that are making $100,000 or less would get a tax credit that they would receive it up to $500 a month. This proposal, economists across the board have said.
So that same $6,000, all she's willing to give Americans is $500 a month, you guys.
It would be the most significant middle-class tax cut for American families and generations, and it would lift up 60% of Black families out of poverty.
So it does touch Black families.
Oh,
even
absolutely,
though we're talking about the middle
directly. Because when you look at the proportionality of where Black families are, you see it in terms of housing and home ownership, where white families is something, I'm going to get this generally right, but something around 70% of white families own their homes versus somewhere around 40% for Black families.
Yeah.
So you don't have to look very hard to see that disparities exist. But you also don't have to look very hard to see this. That when we're talking about families, regardless of their color, they have an equal desire to work hard, to love their children, and allow them to have a pathway and an equal pathway to success. Black mothers, white mothers of whatever race wake up in the middle of the night worrying about their children and their health and their well-being. And we need to address that. But I will say there's another issue that we need to address that's specific to Black families. And that is this. We cannot have a society where a father or a mother, by the time their son turns about 12 years old, has to sit down and have to talk with him about how he will be stopped or chased or arrested or even killed because of the color of his skin.
And so how do you intend to change that from the White House? How would you change policy around that?
Part of it is that the president makes a decision about who's going to run the United States Department of Justice. Currently, under this administration, they have shut down the pattern and practice investigations that involve investigating police departments that have a pattern and practice of discrimination. Those need to be reopened and revived with vigor, because no American should want that a police department that has a history and a pattern and practice of discrimination should be able to get away with that without consequence and accountability. Another issue is what happens to the Department of Justice around consent decrees, which are basically a requirement that departments, it is literally about racial bias in the around recognizing that Black women are 3 to 4 times more likely to die in childbirth. And when you study the issue, you know that it is not about the education level of somebody. It is not about their socioeconomic level. It is literally about their race. Remember what happened to Serena. It is literally about racial bias in the medical health professions that cause people to not take Black women seriously when they walk into the door of that hospital or that emergency room in terms of how they talk about what they need. The agenda includes HBCUs, for example. I am a proud graduate of Howard University. I know that our HBCUs have raised and helped raise generations of leaders in this country and do it in a very special way that is about nurturing and about creating high standards and challenging young people to be their best, not giving them any excuse, but giving them all kinds of support. So we need to do more. Yeah, I'm right now working on.
You know, I had got up and went and made sure my son was starting the school thing. And so I was trying to see.
It is also equally important to understand that this is
when we loans for mortgages, there's a wealth disparity. So how do you help the Black community?
That's right. Well, the first step is to understand that.
I don't think that was it, you guys. My bad. Let's listen to Charlamagen. I'm going to find it while we listen to this. The landscapers just got here. Sorry. Excuse the leaf blower.
You're not going to do anything specific.
Well, that's just and listen again. You said it at the beginning of this filming. One of the biggest challenges that I face is misinformation, and it's purposeful because it is meant to convince people that they somehow should not believe that the work that I have done has occurred and has meaning. My work from the beginning of my career through today has been about, for example, we've talked about it, whether it be on HBCUs, whether it be on healthcare, Black maternal mortality. I am singularly, many would say, one of the highest level leaders in our country to bring the issue of Black maternal mortality to the stage of the White House to address it. The work that I've done that has been about focusing on my knowledge and my experience and my life experience of knowing the entrepreneurship that we have in the community, the ambition, the aspirations, the dreams, and then tapping into that so that not only has my work been about ensuring that we have some of the lowest Black unemployment ever in our country, but that also knowing that that should be a baseline that everybody has a job. And what we should be invested in is also building wealth in the community and intergenerational wealth. And I have many, many examples of that. But again, part of the challenge that I face is that they are trying to scare people away because they know they otherwise have nothing to run on. Ask Donald Trump what his plan is for Black people. Ask him. What, I'll tell you what it is. Look at Project 2025. Project 2025 tells you the plan includes making police departments have stop and frisk policies. The plan includes making it more difficult for workers to receive overtime pay. The plan includes ending the ability of Medicare to negotiate drug prices. You know what we have done? He said he would. We did. Which means that that's how we brought down the cost of prescription medication. His plan includes making it more difficult for working people to get by and to destroy our democracy. You know what he says? He'll terminate the Constitution of the United States.
My leaf blower is so loud. Sorry, you guys. The landscaper is cleaning up nice out there. He's almost done. You know, leaf blowing is the last step of landscaping. He's almost done. Okay, there we go. Okay, I found it here. Real quick, you guys, let me pull up this other video. Okay, I found it because I had played it before, but it looks like, I don't know how they can scrub things the way they scrub them, man. That's crazy. Let's get this open. Sorry, man. Lots of are open, but I wanted you guys to really hear that she literally said she's not doing anything specifically for Black people. But she'll do something for moms. She'll do something for middle class. The immigrants, like, it's just interesting. So let me see. I was under history because I have the proof. And I knew I needed to get it. See, it's my video I did 5 days ago. President Obama scolding Black men. And here is the cue where she's saying it. You guys should go check this video out. With doctor's notes. Verified, proven doctor's notes. And locked up mothers. Spent all her money. They had to live in a hotel. They got evicted. Her daughter had a stroke. She was with 60% of commercial.
Hey, this is Eugene Vinman, and I'm his older brother,
Just
Alex.
a second.
Today I'm asking for you to 60%
of the profit. That's all families, but not a particular policy for African Americans. But no, if you look at the reality of who will benefit from certain policies, when you take into account that they're not starting at the same place and they're not sitting at, it will directly benefit Black children, Black families, Black homeowners, because the disparities are so significant. So if we focus on the specific issues that have resulted in the greatest disparities, and we understand that that's part of why we're doing it. Listen, the reality also is this. Any policy that will benefit Black people will benefit all society. Let's be clear about that. Let's be clear about that. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only for Black people. No, because whatever benefits that Black family will benefit, and that's part of why we're doing it. Listen, the reality also is this. Any policy that will benefit Black people will benefit all society. Let's be clear about that. I'm gonna do something that's only gonna benefit Black people. No, because whatever benefits that Black, the reality also is this: any policy that will benefit Black people will benefit all society. Let's be clear about that. Let's really be clear about that. So I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm gonna do something that's only gonna benefit Black people. No, because whatever benefits that Black family will benefit that part of why we're doing it. Listen, the reality also is this: any policy that will benefit Black people will benefit all society. Let's be clear about that.
So she did in fact say it. So now we're going to go back to this talk with Charlamagen when he sets up the thing, and he's telling me that what my ears just heard with her face moving and her mouth moving in the same time is not true. It's misinformation. He's setting this up as misinformation. We just heard her say in the complete context, she knows the issues. There's this, that. There's blah. Yeah, there's been stuff, but she's not doing anything specifically for you. She said it. So now again, let's listen to these lies.
Beyond healthcare, Black maternal mortality, I am singularly, many would say, one of the highest level leaders in our country to bring in what we can do together that is about supporting the community, the strength of the community, the cohesion of the community. And it is my long-standing work, and therefore my pledge going forward. I will always work closely with the church because I understand who our church leaders are and who the congregation is. We are talking about people who are driven by faith and the ability to see what is possible. By faith, where I was raised, and I know many of us were, understanding that our God is a loving God, that our faith propels us to act in a way that is about kindness and justice and mercy, that is about lifting one another up. And let's talk about the contrast here. Donald Trump and his
oh my God,
spent
blah,
some time
blah.
trying to suggest that the measure of the strength of leaders based on who you beat down.
Where did it say? I think it's right here. Oh, I need some water.
Where our church and my church is about saying true leadership, the measure of that is based on who you lift up. And right. And then he's selling $60 Bibles or tennis shoes and trying to play people as though that makes him more understanding of the Black community. Come on.
Thank you, Reverend.
Thank you, Reverend.
And God is good.
Every day, all the time.
There you go. Make sure you get that right. Now, have you seen the clip, Madam Vice President, from the grill? It's a clip that's kind of out of context, and it says that you won't do anything specifically for Black people. Have you seen that?
I've not seen that.
Well, it's a clip that has you saying that you're not going to do anything specifically for Black people.
Well, that's just not true. And listen, again, you said it at the beginning of this visit, Charlamagen. One of the biggest challenges that I face is mis and disinformation. Mm-hmm. And it's purposeful because it is meant to convince people that they somehow should not believe that the work that I have done has occurred and has meaning. My work from the beginning of my career through today has been about, for example, we've talked about it, whether it be on HBCUs, whether it be on healthcare, Black maternal mortality. I am singularly, many would say, one of the highest level leaders in our country to bring the issue of Black maternal mortality to the stage of the White House to address it. The work that I've done that has been about focusing on my knowledge and my experience and my life experience of knowing the entrepreneurship that we have in the community, the ambition, the aspirations, the dreams, and then tapping into that so that not only has my work been about ensuring that we have some of the lowest Black unemployment ever in our country, but that also knowing that that should be a baseline that everybody has a job. And what we should be invested in is also building wealth in the community and intergenerational wealth. And I have many, many examples of that. But again, part of the challenge that I face is that they are trying to scare people away because they know they otherwise have nothing to run on. Ask Donald Trump what his plan is for Black America. Ask him. I'll tell you what it is. Look at Project 2025. Project 2025 tells you the plan includes making police departments have stop and frisk policies. The plan includes making it more difficult for workers to receive overtime pay. The plan includes ending the ability of Medicare to negotiate drug prices. You know what we have done? He said he would. We did. Which means that that's how we brought down the cost of prescription medication. His plan includes making it more difficult for working people to get by. Our democracy. You know what he says he'll do? Terminate the Constitution of the United States. Right. Let me remind folks. You know what's in the Constitution of the United States? The 4th Amendment, which protects you against unreasonable searches and seizures. The 5th Amendment, the 6th Amendment, the 14th Amendment. And he's going to terminate the Constitution of the United States? In most of those amendments, one thing or another was about a movement spurred by Black people to ensure that we would be equally protected under the law. Come on.
Let's take a question from Talkback.
Hi, my name is Joshua Fisher, age 31 years old, African-American male from Las Vegas, Nevada. I'd like to ask Madam Vice President what laws does she have planned to make sure that there's a stop to police brutality and murders that have been going on viciously?
The future of your business is here. With Wix, you get advanced AI capabilities for more customization, more time, and more growth. Website copy with an AI text generator that delivers a consistent brand voice to every corner of your site. Unlimited unique visuals enhance every piece of content you create. Instantly transform any idea into an image right from the comfort of your platform. And win back hours of hard work with AI-powered emails designed to perform. More conversions, less hassle. Smart benchmarks show you exactly where you stand in the market. See what's working and what needs work so you can quickly spot your next opportunity and take your business where you want to go. Oh, and we're just getting started. Go to Wix.com and make it happen.
It's not having access to 1 million industrial-grade products that's so amazing. It's the feeling of knowing you'll find the one you need. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
So again, the work that I have done through my career, and most recently, even when I was in the United States Senate, to help write the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. Cory Booker and I worked very closely on that.
Could you tell me why that didn't pass? We get folks a quick cities.
We couldn't get the votes in Congress. There's a clip somewhere of me fighting with a Republican senator to actually, get it passed. We couldn't get it passed. But what we did when we came in office and during the time that I've been vice president is we passed an executive order. So whereas we were trying, I have been trying to make these things national so that everyone would have to do it, an executive order by the president and our administration says that for federal law enforcement, the following things have to happen, which we first time put in place. No knock warrants, barring chokeholds, a national database, now it's for federal law enforcement, but a national database for us to collect information and track police officers who have broken the law. And this is no small issue, this piece, in addition to everything else, because as we know, we've seen plenty of examples of a police officer who committed misconduct in one jurisdiction and then goes to another jurisdiction and gets hired because there's no place that's tracking their misconduct. So these are some of the things that we've done. And then listen, I'm still going to always work on getting the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act passed. Part of the work that I'm doing as a candidate for president of the United States includes lifting up those candidates who are running either for re-election or for the first time to Congress, who are supportive of what we need to do on all of the issues we've been discussing, whether it be freedom to vote and passing the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, whether it be freedom to make decisions about your own body, whether it be the freedom to just be and be free from any brutality, including police brutality when and where it occurs.
I think a lot of the frustration comes from people who will say sometimes politicians volunteer lies because, yes, it's great to try to pass. You probably know you can't get the votes, so why push that? Why push that on?
But I don't subscribe to that approach, and I'm going to tell you why. It took a long time for the Voting Rights Act to get done. It took the brutality of what happened when John Lewis and all those were trying to cross the Edmund Pettus Bridge. It took a lot of work over our history to do what we have accomplished thus far, and we have to remain committed.
How do you convince Republican senators, as you just said?
Well, part of it is that their constituents are part of this. I mean, we have plenty of folks who want this, who live in districts where they serve, and this is the point. This gets back to the earlier point about you can't let anybody take you out of the game by not voting. The solutions, and maybe this is the point you're making about what President Obama said. The solutions are not going to happen just overnight. And the solutions that we all want are not going to happen in totality because of one election. But here's the thing. The things that we want and are prepared to fight for won't happen if we're not active and if we don't participate. We cannot allow circumstances to take us out the game, because then basically what we're saying is all those people who are obstructionists, who are standing in the way of change, they're winning. Because they're convincing people that it can't be done, so take yourself out, don't participate. Look at that circle. Look at that vicious circle then. So let's not fall for it.
Zeke, this is my man Zeke. He's the president and CEO of New Era Detroit. He wants to talk to you about your black male agenda for the black community. Just your agenda for the black community, period. Zeke, what's up, brother?
What up, though? What up, though? Madam Vice President, Charlamagen God. What up, though? Welcome to Detroit.
Yes, sir. Good to be back.
I like to say the real Detroit because I'm up here. My name is Zeke, New Era founder, CEO. I work on the ground here in Detroit and the black communities all across the country over the past 10 years, actually celebrating our 10th year this past August. In my 10 years of organizing, we played a major role in the resurgence of pride and the change of mindset in Detroit neighborhoods across the city. We're not only known for the work that we do here in Detroit, but across the country in Black communities, having worked in over 35 cities, of the Blackest cities in America. Saying all that to say, I'm extremely qualified to sit in front of the current Vice President, and which can be the next President of the United States of America. As I pose my question to you, I would first like to make it known that I don't have any emotional connections to politicians. I believe that this is one of our biggest flaws in the current political process. I view politics as a business, and America is one of the biggest corporations in the world. With that being said, I'm here on behalf of the business of the Black community. With all that Black Americans have been through and contribute to the success of America, I feel that there should be an in-depth investigation or evaluation of the lack of resources and current living conditions in Black communities nationwide. My question to you is, what's your stance on reparations? We all know that America became great.
So you guys, you heard them say that that wasn't true, and we just listened to it like 5 times. They just lie so good for her. Ask your dad. Ask your dad. Jesus. The kids know I can do everything good. They know I do everything so good and so quick. I'm just like, ask your freaking dad. Dude, I'm in here on live talking to my Curvies about points, doing my thing. This makes my heart sing.
Dad doesn't want to do it either.
Well, yeah. Anyway, sorry, you guys. So, that was really interesting that's that. But let's see what she says about reparations this time. Last time, she gave us a history of the plight of Black people and then said she wasn't doing anything specifically for Black people. Now let's see what she's going to say about reparations.
Off the backs of free Black labor. How progressive are you on making it a priority and righting America's wrongs? It's understood that you are running for president for all people of America. Asking for specifics for Black communities doesn't mean don't do for others, but Black Americans are heavily asked to vote Democrat in every election for over half a century, with very little in return. What are your plans to address these very important issues and change that narrative?
Thank you, Z.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you for your work. So to your point, yes, I am running to be a president for all Americans. That being said, I do have clear eyes about the disparities that exist and the context in which they exist, meaning history, to your point. So my agenda, well, first of all, on the point of reparations, it has to be studied. There's no question about that. And I've been very clear about that position. In terms of my immediate plan, I will tell you a few of the following. One, as it relates to the economy, which is a lot of what you have addressed. Look, I grew up in the middle class. My mother, worked hard, raised me and my sister. And by the time
So that statement chaps my hide. So are you telling this Black man his answer to reparations is that your Indian mother worked hard, saved, and bought you and your sister a house in Canada is the answer to his Black reparations question?
I was in high school, she was able to afford our first home. I know what it means for an individual and a family to have home ownership. I also know, in the context of history, nobody got 40 acres and a mule. We have
She doesn't know because they did, but they didn't get to keep it. And then the other day when she was on that talk with Matt Barnes and George Floyd's cousin, she was like, oh yeah, it was 20 acres and a mule and the 1/8 rule. It was the 1/5 rule and the 40 acres and a mule. So now she's finally getting her talking points right. At least she knows about 40 acres this time. She's too much, you guys. Pandering.
history of a number of things, including redlining. Detroit knows it well. A history of, for example, something that still exists that I've worked on to home ownership is Black families are 40% less likely to be homeowners than others. And that home ownership is one of the surest ways to build intergenerational wealth, right? Because when you own a home, that's when if your child says, Daddy, I want to go to college, you can say, sweetheart, don't have to take out a loan, I'll take some equity out of the house. Or if your child says, I want to start a small point, right? So my plan includes making sure that for first-time home buyers, $25,000 down payment assistance to just get their foot in the door, because we know folks will work hard, they'll save, and pay that monthly mortgage. Second point is to bring down the
What about our reparations? Everything she's talking about, she already laid out as her plan for America. So now she's just saying it in a room full of Black people. So this is the Black plan now? I don't know.
The cost of housing generally, because one of the issues is we have a housing supply shortage, and so that's about working with the private sector.
There is no shortage.
Our small businesses, which are part of the backbone of the economy of the Black community, and part of the backbone of America's economy writ large.
When they're not blowing up Black Wall Street.
Was a small.
Yeah, it's the economy of Black America when they're not blowing up Black Wall Street, and when they're not bombing the other town in Philadelphia full of Black people who are doing good, or when they're not letting the shit happen in Tulsa, in Oklahoma, and still not giving those people what they deserve after the people came and took it all from them. And they're saying, oh, it was so long ago, we can't do nothing for you Black people that were like 2 years old when you saw everybody in your whole town burned alive.
Business owner. I know who our small business owners are, and I have convened Black small business owners way before I was running for president in my official office at the White House to talk with young entrepreneurs, mostly young, about the work that they are doing that is about clean energy work, technology, as well as the traditional, whether it be a barbershop or a restaurant. One of the big issues facing Black entrepreneurs and Black small businesses is access to capital. Because unlike my opponent, who got handed $400 million on a silver platter and then filed bankruptcy 6 times, don't forget that, calls himself a businessman. Not everybody has access.
By the way, Kamala Harris did not grow up poor at all. Middle class in the 70s was high on the hog. Believe that shit. She got a lot handed to her too.
Yes, to the capital, but we know in the community we do not lack for ambition, aspirations, dreams, hard work ethic. And so my work has been as vice president to increase billions of dollars into community banks. And as vice president, part of that work will also be to change the tax deduction for startup small businesses from $5,000 to $50,000.
That's for everybody. She already announced that.
And if you don't otherwise have intergenerational wealth, how are you going to be able to do it? Second point on small business is this. I'm going to do, basically, it's a program that is about a $20,000 non-refundable loan to a certain...
That's called the grant.
Businesses that don't have access to wealth and don't have those relationships, which is going to directly impact a lot of Black-owned small businesses. That $20,000.
It's only for 1 million people, and it's for everybody. It's not specifically for Black people. So there'll still be some type of process where you decide and select who of the million gets this. It's not just for Black people. She doesn't have a Black plan, you guys. I can't. She's just too much. She's a man. I didn't even get to the Fox interview yet. Or the Shade Room interview. Let's go to Kamala Fox, because I heard she had a meltdown on Fox. It's just gonna spin because it is spinning. Where is the Fox interview? Kamala Fox.
Let me tell you what $5 means to my...
Dude, everything is just sticking and spinning. I'm sorry, Curvies. Where's Kamala's? Here it is. I heard this interview is wacky and that she had an unhinged moment. But her Black plan is a plan that's for everybody. And
specifically the influx of illegal immigrants from more than 150 countries. How many illegal immigrants would you estimate your administration has released into the country over the last 3.5 years?
Well, I'm glad you raised the issue of immigration because I agree with you. It is a topic of discussion that people want to rightly have. And you know what I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, but just a number. Do you think it's 1 million, 3 million?
Brett, let's just get to the point. Okay, the point is that we have a broken...
Come on.
...system that needs to be repaired.
So your Homeland Security Secretary said that 85% of apprehensions...
We have
a rough estimate of 6 million people have been released into the country. Now let me just finish. I'll get to the question, I promise you.
I was beginning to answer.
And when you came into office, your administration immediately reversed a number of Trump border policies. most significantly, the policy that required illegal immigrants to be detained through deportation, either in the U.S. or in Mexico. And you switched that policy. They were released from custody awaiting trial. So instead, included in those were a large number of single men, adult men, who went on to commit heinous crimes. So looking back, do you regret the decision to remain in Mexico at the beginning of your administration?
At the beginning of our administration, within practically hours of taking the oath, the first bill that we offered Congress, before we worked on infrastructure, before the Inflation Reduction Act, before the Chips and Science Act, before the bipartisan Safer Communities Act, the first bill, practically within hours of taking the oath, was a bill to fix our immigration system.
Yes, ma'am. It was called the U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021.
Exactly.
It was essentially a pathway to citizenship for the yes,
may I finish responding, please? But you have to let me finish.
You had the White House and the House and the Senate.
I'm in the middle of responding to the point you're raising, and I'd like to finish.
Yes, ma'am.
We recognized from day one that, to the point of this being your first question, it is a priority for us as a nation and for the American people. And our focus has been on fixing a problem. From day one, then, we have done a number of things, including to address our asylum system and put more resources, getting more judges, what we needed to do to tighten up penalties and increase penalties for illegal crossings, what we needed to do to deal with points of entry between border entry points. That's the work we did, and we worked. A bipartisan effort, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress, to actually strengthen the border. That border bill would have put 1,500 more border agents at the border, which is why I believe the Border Patrol agents supported the bill. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States, which is a scourge affecting people of every background, every geographic location in our country, killing people. It would have allowed us to put more resources into prosecuting transnational criminal organizations, which I have done as the Attorney General, former Attorney General of a border state.
Madam Vice President, a couple of things.
Prosecuted trafficking of drugs, guns, and human beings. And Donald Trump, but let me
Your Honor, I'd like to note that the witness is hostile.
Six Democrats voted against that bill.
Learned about that bill and told them to kill it because he preferred to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And in this election, this is rightly a discussion that the American people want to have. And what they want are solutions. And they want a president of the United States who's not playing political games with the issue, but actually is focused on fixing it.
6 Democrats voted against that bill. It would have allowed 1.8 million illegal immigrants into the country a year. A lot of conservatives had a problem with it. These are the 6 Democrats. But more importantly, back to the original premise, Jocelyn Mungari, they are young women who were brutally assaulted and killed by some of the men who were released at the beginning of the administration, well before a negotiated bipartisan bill. Former President Clinton actually referred to Lincoln Riley Sunday campaigning for you in Georgia, saying if those men had been properly vetted, Lincoln Riley probably would not have been killed. So if it wouldn't have happened, this is well before any negotiation. This is well before Donald Trump got involved in the politics. This is a specific policy decision by your administration to release these men into the country. So what I'm saying to you, do you owe those families an apology?
Let me just say, first of all, those are tragic cases. There's no question about that. There's no question about that. And I can't imagine the pain that the families of those victims have experienced for a loss that should not have occurred. So that is true. It is also true that if a border security had actually been passed 9 months ago, it would be 9 months that we would have had more border agents at the border, more support for the folks who are working around the clock, trying to hold it all together to ensure that no future harm would occur. And this election in 20 days will determine whether we have a president of the United States who actually cares more about fixing a problem, even if it is not to their political advantage in an election, because there was a solution, Brett.
Madam Vice President, it was a policy decision in the early part of your administration. I will let one of the mothers talk about it. Take a listen.
Because of the Biden-Harris administration open border policies catch and release, they were enrolled in the Alternatives to Detention program. This meant that they were released into the United States. It was not even a full 3 weeks later that they would take my daughter, Jocelyn Mungari's life. I believe the Biden-Harris administration open border policies are responsible for the death of my daughter.
That's the early days. So do you owe them an apology?
I will tell you that I am so sorry for her loss. I'm so sorry for her loss. Sincerely. But let's talk about what is happening right now with an individual who does not want to participate in solutions. Let's talk about that as well. Right? In all fairness, I told you, I feel awful for what she and her family have experienced.
During that time, you said repeatedly that the border was secure. When in your mind did it start becoming a crisis?
I think we've had a broken immigration system.
So, you guys, the tone of this interview
$158,000 per year, but
is
like
so.
I strongly encourage you.
The tone of this interview is so different than when she's shucking and jiving with Charlamagen.
Let's all be honest about that. I have no pride that this is a perfect immigration system. I've been clear, I think we all are, that it needs to be fixed. We need more. I was just down at the border talking to border agents, and they will tell you, and I'm sure I know you investigate and you are a serious journalist. They will tell you, we need more judges. We need to process those cases faster. We need the support for those cases that should be prosecuted. They need more resources, and Congress ultimately is the only place that's going to get fixed, Brett. Well, that's how the system works.
That's the premise of this question. There were 90 plus executive orders that were rescinded in the first days. Many of those were Trump border policies. I'm not going to stay here because there's other things to talk about, but you frequently talk to the Border Patrol Union for support of that bipartisan bill, and they did. They supported it. But they also just endorsed Donald Trump and said, you've been, quote, a failure with border security. Why do you think they said that?
I think they're frustrated, and I get it. They want support. They want support, and that's what that border security bill would have done. These guys down at the border, these men and women, they're working hard. They're working around the clock. I get it.
There's a lot of people that look back at what you said in 2019 when you first ran for president. And there have been changes, and you've talked about some of them. When it comes to immigration, you supported allowing immigrants in the country illegally to apply for driver's license, to qualify for free tuition at universities, to be enrolled in free healthcare. Do you still support those things?
Listen, that was 5 years ago, and I'm very clear that I will follow the law. I have made that statement over and over again, and as Vice President of the United States, that's exactly what I've done, not to mention before.
If that's the case, you chose a running mate, Tim Walz, governor of Minnesota, who signed those very things into state law. So do you support that?
We are very clear, and I am very clear, as is Tim Walz, that we must support and enforce federal law, and that is exactly what we will do.
So decriminalizing border crossings, like you said in 2019.
I do not believe in decriminalizing border crossings, and I've not done that as vice president. I will not do that as president.
So these are evolutions that you've had.
But let's be very clear. I'm the only person who's running for president who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations, from the Sinaloa cartel to the Guadalajara cartel to people who have trafficked in guns, drugs, and human beings. I have spent a significant part of my career going after people who present a threat to the safety of the American people and cross our border with the intent of doing us harm and cross our border illegally.
Is it me, or does she have like an ego thing where she's like, let me be clear, I'm the only one that da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, I thought it was about we the people, and that but you always like it's so defensive as a way to try to make your point. It's weird.
And I will do that work as vice president. I take that work quite seriously.
This is a time when voters, especially here in Pennsylvania, are inundated with commercials and ads. They just want it to stop because it's every commercial. But many of them add noise, but a few of them seem to break through. This particular one from the Trump campaign has got a lot of attention.
Kamala supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners.
Surgery. For prisoners. Every transgender inmate in the prison system would have access.
So are you still in support of using taxpayer dollars to help prison inmates or detained illegal aliens to transition to another gender?
I will follow the law, and it's a law that Donald Trump actually followed. You're probably familiar with, now it's a public report, that under Donald Trump's administration, these surgeries were available on a medical necessity basis to people in the federal prison system. And I think, frankly, that ad from the Trump campaign is a little bit of like throwing stones when you're living in a glass house.
The Trump aides say that he never advocated for that prison policy and no gender transition
surgeries.
Well,
you got to take responsibility for what happened in your administration.
Yeah, no surgeries happened in his presidency.
It's in black and white.
Would you still advocate?
Oh, so Trump needs to take responsibility for something that happened in his administration, but you don't have to take responsibility for anything that happened in your administration currently until you get to be in the administration again.
Like I said, I think he spent $20 million on those ads trying to create a sense of fear in the voters because he actually has no plan in this election that is about focusing on the needs of the American people. Whereas, $20 million on that ad, on an issue that, as it relates to the biggest issues that affect the American people, is really quite remote. And again, his policy was no different. Look at where we are, though.
So illegal immigration is a remote policy to her.
I'm offering a plan to deal with what we need to do to strengthen small businesses, which are the backbone of America's economy. I am offering a plan to take care of young parents and giving them the support they need. My plans for the economy will strengthen the economy, as have been reviewed by 16 Nobel laureates, Goldman Sachs, Moody's, and recently the Wall Street Journal, which have all studied our plans and have indicated my plans for our economy would strengthen our economy. His would make them weaker, would ignite inflation, and invite a recession by the middle of next year. Those are the facts.
Why do you think more people say they trust him on the economy than they trust you?
I think that when you look at an analysis of our plans for what we would do as president of the United States, it has been clear to those who study and understand how economic policy works that moving forward, because I do believe the American people are ready to turn the page on the divisiveness and the type of rhetoric that has come out of Donald Trump. People are ready to chart a new way forward. And they want a president who has a plan for the future and a plan that is sound and will strengthen our country. My plan for the economy does exactly that. His plan would be, again, to give tax cuts to billionaires and the biggest corporations in our country and blow up our deficit.
It's interesting you said turn the page, Madam Vice President. You were asked on 2 different shows last week what, if anything, you would do differently than President Biden. Here's what you said.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
Nothing.
There's not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have impact.
Under a Harris administration, what would the major changes be, and what would stay the same?
Sure. Well, I mean, I'm obviously not Joe Biden, and so that would be one change in terms of. But also, I think it's important to say, with 28 days to go, I'm not Donald Trump.
So you're not Joe Biden, you're not Donald Trump, but nothing comes to mind that you would do differently.
Let me be very clear. My presidency will not be a continuation of Joe Biden's presidency. And like every new president,
you already said it would.
Office, I will bring my life experiences, my professional experiences, and fresh and new ideas. I represent a new generation of leadership. I, for example, am someone who has not spent the majority of my career in Washington, D.C. I invite ideas, whether it be from the Republicans who are supporting me, who were just on stage with me minutes ago, and the business sector, and others who can contribute to the decisions that I make about, for example, my plan for increasing the supply of housing in America and bringing down the cost of housing, addressing the issue of small businesses, which is about working with the private sector to bring more capital.
Oh my God, same thing over and over.
$25,000 down payment assistance for first-time home buyers, and for small businesses extending the tax deduction from
so three things.
to $50,000.
I've heard a lot about those plans in recent days. Your campaign slogan is a new way forward, and it's time to turn the page. You've been vice president for 3.5 years, so what are you turning the page from?
Well, first of all,
that's a great question.
We cannot wake up the morning after election.
Yeah. And why are you still asking for money? You got more money than anybody else so far, faster in history. You know why she needs more money? Is because she used all her money to keep your other options off of the ballots in your states. Yep, the Democratic Do Not Care Party does not care about democracy, and it spent their whole war chest on keeping other options off of ballots. Does that sound very democratic? I thought democracy was about options for the people, not for her. Nope, she doesn't want that.
The page from the last decade, in which we've been burdened with the kind of rhetoric coming from Donald Trump that has been designed and implemented to divide our country and have a.
So, can you guys do math with me real quick? So, the last decade. She's saying that she wants to move forward, turn the page from the last decade. So during the last decade, the Republicans and Trump were only involved for 4 years in the White House. So we've had 4 years of her, 4 years of Trump, and 2 years of Obama, because Trump was a one-term president. So that means that it was a majority Democratic administration ideals in the last decade that she wants to turn a page from, but she's part of that page.
Americans literally point fingers at each other. Rhetoric and an approach that you beat down instead of what we all know. The strength of leadership is based on who you lift up. The strength of an American president, which is one who understands that the vast majority of us have more in common than what separates us. That is turning the page.
Of people
that is about turning the page on rhetoric that people are frankly exhausted of. Brett,
more than 70%
people are
of people
exhausted.
tell the country is on the wrong track. They say the country is on the wrong track. If it's on the wrong track, that track follows 3.5 years of you being vice president and President Biden being president. That is what they're saying, 79% of them. Why are they saying that? If you're turning the page, you've been in office for 3.5 years.
And Donald Trump has been running for office.
But you've been the person holding the office.
Come on. You and I both know what I'm talking about. You and I both know what I'm talking about.
What are you talking about?
What I'm talking about is that over the last decade, people have become. But listen, over the last decade, it's clear to me, and certainly the Republicans who are on stage with me, the former chief of staff to President Donald Trump, the former defense secretaries, national security advisor, and his vice president, one, that he is unfit to serve, that he is unstable, that he is dangerous, and that people are exhausted. To be a leader who spends.
But what are you gonna do, lady? What solutions are you offering except for the scare tactic of every other word is what he's gonna do, but what are you gonna do? You do word salad and then you're like, you throw in Project 2025 and Trump did this. But he's asking you specifically, you've been here for 4 years, shit's whack. So what are we turning the page from if shit's so good and you've been so good? She can't hardly get her words out having to answer fucking questions, you guys. I don't think that she's a strong leader. This right here, this floundering that she's doing, I don't think that this distributes strength as far as a leader. It sounds like a lot of blame game. 4 years in, and you're still blaming Trump as a citizen. He's just a citizen now. He's been a citizen for 4 years. So all this, oh my God, Trump is like a false flag. Flag on the play.
Demeaning and engaging in personal grievances and it being about him instead of the American people. People are tired of that.
That's the case. Why is half the country supporting him? Why is he beating you in a lot of swing states? Why, if he's as bad as you say, that half of this country is now supporting this person who could be the 47th president of the United States? Why is that happening?
This is an election for president of the United States. It's not supposed to be easy.
I know, but
it's not supposed to be. It is not supposed to be a
So
cakewalk
are they misguided,
for
the 50%?
Listen,
Are they stupid?
Oh God, I would never say that about the American people. And in fact, if you listen to Donald Trump, if you watch any of his rallies, he's the one who tends to demean and belittle and diminish the American people. He's the one who talks about an enemy within, an enemy within, talking about the American people, suggesting he would turn the American military on the American people.
We asked that question to the former president today. Harris Faulkner had a town hall, and this is how he responded.
I heard about that. They were saying I was like threatening. I'm not threatening anybody. They're the ones doing the threatening. They do phony investigations. I've been investigated more than Alphonse Capone. He was the greatest man. No, it's true. We don't take it. It's called weaponization of government. It's a terrible thing.
So, Brett, I'm sorry, and with all due respect, that clip was not what he has been saying about the enemy within that he has repeated when he's speaking about the American people. That's not what you just showed.
He was asking.
No, that's not what you just showed. In all fairness and respect to you,
the question that we asked him.
You didn't show that, and here's the bottom line. He has repeated it many times, and you and I both know that, and you and I both know that he's talked about turning the American military.
She's very upset.
He's talked about going after people who are engaged in peaceful protest. He's talked about locking people up because they disagree with him. This is a democracy. And in a democracy, the president of the United States, in the United States of America, should be willing to be able to handle criticism without saying he'd lock people up for doing it. And this is what is at stake, which is why you have someone like the former chairman of the...
Guys, she's having a complete meltdown. She's having a freaking meltdown.
Which is best, chicken or plant protein?
Neither. This is a chicken from 1957, and this is a chicken from 2023. Can you tell the difference? If you compare...
Did you guys see that? That is so crazy.
This election, and specifically the influx of illegal.
And he'd lock people up for doing it. And this is what is at stake, which is why you have someone like the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff saying what Mark Milley has said about Donald Trump being a threat to the United States of America.
He's quoted in the Bible book that way, yes. Let me ask you this, Madam Vice President. You call Donald Trump.
The significance of that.
You call Donald Trump. He's misguided. You say now
he's unstable. He is unstable.
He's not well. You say he's mentally not stable.
He's not stable.
Let me ask you this. You told many interviewers that Joe Biden was on his game, that ran around circles on his staff. When did you first notice that President Biden's mental faculties appeared diminished?
Joe Biden, I have watched from the Oval Office to the Situation Room, and he has the judgment and the experience to do exactly what he has done. And
and it's an experiment,
on behalf of the American people. Joe Biden is not on ballot.
I understand.
And Donald Trump
but you
is.
talked about it.
And Donald Trump
After George Clooney said within a few minutes of talking to President Biden at a fundraiser that he thought this was not the same Joe Biden that we saw on the debate stage.
Donald Trump is on the ballot.
I understand. You met with him at least once a week for 3.5 years. You didn't have any concerns.
I think the American people have a concern about Donald Trump, which is why the people who know best, including leaders of our national security community, have all spoken out. Even people
way to not answer a question.
Worked with him in the Situation Room and have said he is unfit and dangerous and should never be president of the United States again, including his former vice president, which is why the job was open for him to choose another running mate. So that is a fact. That is a fact.
Madam Vice President, 2 more things. You were asked on 60 Minutes about the biggest threat that the world faces, that the U.S. faces. This is what you said.
Which foreign country do you consider to be our greatest adversary?
I think there's an obvious one in mind, which is Iran. Iran has American blood on their hands. Okay, this attack on Israel, 200 ballistic missiles. What we need to do to ensure that Iran never achieves the ability to be a nuclear power, that is one of my highest priorities.
But number of experts thought you would say China. The FBI director had said that. But you said Iran. If that's the case, what do you say to critics who look at the actions of your administration and say you're not acting like Iran is the #1 threat?
Well, Well, I will tell you most recently, whether it was in April or in October, and then several hours on each occasion that Iran posed a threat to Israel, I was there. Most recently in the Situation Room, in the most recent attack, working with the heads of our military and doing what America must always do to defend and to support Israel in its requirement to defend itself and to give American support to be able to allow Israel to have the resources to defend itself against attack, including from Iran and Iran's terrorist proxies in the region. Right. And that is, and my commitment to that is unyielding and unwavering.
Critics just say that you either relaxed or failed to enforce sanctions on Iran, allowing all of this money to flow into Iran. Like
let's go back to Donald Trump, who pulled out of a deal that would have actually put Iran in check.
The estimates in billions.
It was during Donald Trump's administration that Iran.
She's not strong. Weak. Blame game.
Traumatic brain injuries and
Blame.
headaches. Not to mention how Donald Trump has treated and talked about America's military and military service people, calling them
the witness is hostile.
The significance. I would like that we would have a conversation that is grounded in full assessment of the facts, which includes, I think this interview is supposed to be about the choices that your viewers should be presented about this election and the contrast.
Oh, so where's Jill Stein? Where's Cornel West? Where are my choices?
An important contrast that is presented for folks to make a decision that they feel.
Look at what the administration did and say and think differently. Madam Vice President, they're rapping me very hard here. I hope you got to say what you wanted to say about Donald Trump. There are a lot of things. There are a lot of things that people want to learn about you and your policies, and that's why
I invite everyone to go to KamalaHarris.com, and you will see that I have 80 pages of policies that are quite comprehensive and should be accessible to anyone who would like to read them. And it includes what I intend to do about affordable housing, what I intend to do about small businesses, what I do.
And that's why we invited you here to see where you were in 2019 and where you are now.
America's military, and ensure we have the most lethal and best fighting force in the world.
Madam Vice President,
and
they're giving me a hard round.
War whore.
Thank you for the time.
It's good to meet you.
War whore.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey,
War whore.
the Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.
Did you hear that? That's crazy. You guys better get ready for World War III if you let Kamala in here. She is being a war whore, in my opinion. She is a warmonger. Oh my God. They need to do this and we're going to be lethal and black people can't have shit without everybody else getting some. And everything that I'm going to do for black people is already in my plan for white people and everybody else, because I don't have a plan for Black America, because I don't care about y'all. I'm in the DNC, the Do Not Care Party. Democrats do not care. Okay. Now I see your guys' comments over here. It's been coming on 2 hours of all this. I'm going to go ahead and let you guys off the hook. We did not get to the Shade Room interview. I imagine that this is a lot of, man, you guys got 18 days left to get the truth. That's not the truth. What we just heard, that doesn't sound solid. That sounds like she's promising World War III. That sounds like she wants my son to go fight for ISFAK when he's 18. She don't have no kids to go fight in the war. She wants my kids and your kids to go fight in the war. And because they're older than the $6,000 that she give you as a tax credit, because Americans are only worth $500 a month, but we have to pledge allegiance to Israel because that's what the fuck is up. Everything has been wonderful. We'll be changing everything. That's right, Stephen. This is, whoa, I can't. She's not telling me, man, this is crazy. I'm just more confused. I had hoped to shed light on her plan for Black America, but she doesn't have one. It's lies. It's just a play on words. Trump is the devil and the problem. And this is basically, if you want to vote between the lesser of two evils, then they're both still evil, but she's trying to make you think that she's the lesser of two evils, and instead of the man that's been in office, who was in office for 4 years. Oh yeah. And now the other newest evil is Jill Stein and Butch Ware. If you dare, check their platform out. She's had it for longer. Jill Stein has had her platform up since 2023. That's how important America is to her, that she's had it in writing on paper since 2023, the fact that there's cash payment reparations, the fact that there is no more money for Israel, the fact that housing is a right, the fact that healthcare is a right, the fact that all these things are rights as humans in America have been on her platform for us to read and consume since 2023. You got to remember that your girl Kamala just put her policies, her issues rather, up on Kamala.com with no www about 50 days in. So it took her 57 days or so to get her issues up, and they all end with Trump, you guys. I'm not with it. Third time's a charm. I was just bringing this to us so that we could try to make heads or tails out of if she does really have a plan, a black plan, any plan that's not just, oh, don't swallow Trump. I don't know. I would beg you guys to check out your third-party options. Jill Stein, Butch Ware, cash payment reparations, $12 trillion earmarked. You know where they get the money? Because they're not sending it to Israel. Yep, that simple. There's money to be had for everything America wants to do. And there's money for my cash payment reparations too. So, you guys, make it a great day. There's enough to go around. So be sure you go out and get some. And I'll see you in the next video.